What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life. I'm your host, owner and founder of Vicktory Life, Dwight Vick. And today, this has been a long time coming, an episode in the making. Not only do I have a Kecoughtan high school grade, but I got a JMU grade. And the guy I grew up going against and watching play went on to play and sign with the Dallas Cowboys as well. None other than Macey Brooks is in the building for his Legacy Spotlight. Macey, how you doing?
I'm well, very well. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, man, dude. Look, first of all, man, it's been a long time coming for. When this airs, for everyone when you watch this, I'm just going to tell you, Macey, if you think I'm busy, Macey's busy, man. But it's been worth the wait, man, because to me, we're going to jump into it. I have been on a lot of platforms, and I talk about the 757 in the Tidewater area and Virginia as a whole. And when people ask me about players, one of my best friends, and he was my teammate in high school, and he was my teammate at Virginia Tech and roommate, Tyrone Tynes. You know Tynes, yeah, him and Tucker and Myron Newsom.
Oh yeah.
And we talk often, Tyrone and I, about you and how you were a great athlete. And to me, in my humble opinion, and I got the credibility to say this, you were one of the best ever to play in the Peninsula District. You played for a great coach and legendary Kurt Newsom. You played with some great players in Morocco and Marseille and the Abrahams, and a lot of those guys have been on the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight, so it makes sense to get you on.
Right.
But before we get into the Kecoughtan, Hampton, and Fever Days and Friday Night Lights and JMU, Macey, one thing I've noticed when I reflect on my childhood is during the golden era, as I call it, during the golden era of the 757 sports, youth sports was huge. It's huge now because you have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but it's tons of travel leagues. Back then, it was just it's money now.
It wasn't all
but back then it was Aberdeen, Fox Hill, Dora Miller, Wise Thomas. So
you had to make an all-star team.
Yeah, you didn't pay to play. Yeah. So where did you get your start at? Where'd you start off at?
It's funny. I played at Langley Air Force Base.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was playing with like the Tab kids, you know what I'm saying? The Yorktown kids, the military kids. And so I remember we actually scrimmaged Fox Hill one time. And I actually met my best friend that day because he played for Fox Hill, but I didn't know him before that game. Yeah, I mean, we didn't mix it up that much in terms of playing Fox Hill or Aberdeen, but when we did, it was always super competitive because there's some serious athletes out there too. So
who was your best friend? You said your best friend. Who was that?
Oh, Mike Miller.
Mike Miller. Okay, yeah, Mike. Okay,
yeah, Mike. Yeah, and he played defensive end for them. Yeah, and I was playing left guard, offensive guard. Yeah, and nose tackle.
Nose tackle.
Let's go.
Were you tall? Were you tall back then? For your age, were you tall?
No, I mean, there was taller people than me. My running back was taller than me. I mean, I was average. I had a little pudge, you know what I'm saying, to me. But no, I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I was playing left guard with wide receiver in my mind, you know what I'm saying? But yet I had no skills for wide receiver. I had never tried it, you know what I'm saying? I had just seen it on TV a couple times. I'm like, I'd rather do that than what I'm doing. But you know what I'm saying? But I offensive guard, nose tackle, I loved it actually. Like
really?
Yeah. I mean, I was like smacking the snap. Like the center was, you know what I'm saying? I'm like sneaking and causing ruckus, you know what I'm saying? And I was still, I guess, quick. So I did all right.
Yeah. So you played out in Langley, man. And
but I was coming from Germany, so that no one really knew me.
I was perfect segue. So I was getting ready to say, didn't you move here? Well, tell us about that. What happened? You moved here. That's the great thing about the area. There's a lot of people that moved there and then they stay there. Like your brothers, the Abrahams, they came from the islands. How did that happen? When did that happen?
I mean, I was born in Arizona. I moved to Germany when I was 1.5. Stayed there till I was almost 12. My dad was in the Air Force, and so we got lucky to just be able to spend a lot of time there. And I was also lucky that my family my parents were, do as the Romans do. So, we spent a lot of time off base. We would go to France every other month. Like, we traveled a
Wow.
lot. My dad flew planes. So, we would, he would take his little prop plane and, we would go to other bases. So I got to see a lot as a youngster, but
Yeah, wow.
but I didn't get here till I was 12, and I didn't play football until I got to the States because they didn't have tackle football there. I played soccer, wrestled, played baseball.
That's always the case with some of the great ones, man. Just started.
Yeah.
In speaking of your family, man, like, how was your childhood, man? You talking about being overseas in Germany, man. What do you remember about growing up when you got to Hampton, man? Hampton, Newport News, the peninsula itself, let alone the entire Hampton Road 757 area is unique.
Yeah.
It's southeastern Virginia, so it's not Northern Virginia, DC. It's not Texas or Georgia or North Carolina. It's interesting because it's a southern feel to it, but it's not the deep south and it's not the north. Many people that moved there, they're like, it was different, but I loved it, especially back then. How was it growing up? What do you remember about your childhood? Because, we know you as an athlete, but there's a nostalgia growing up. Or like, look, was your dad hard on you? Or was it like, oh, we grew up, it was a loving home? How was it?
Right. It was beautiful. I mean, my dad worked a lot. He was a high-ranking Air Force guy, so he had a lot of responsibility. He was also basically, close with the base commander, so he was kind of like the right-hand man. So he did a lot, right? But I also saw him basically as a boss, right? And then my mom, in Germany, she was a produce manager, and then came here and worked, civil service, but she was always, whether it was for the church or for fundraising for her work or just anything, like she was always the one organizing. So she was another boss, you know what I mean? And she, when we were in France or when we were in Germany, she would leave Germany, like leave the house to go to France for a couple of weeks just to learn how to cook French food.
Oh,
Right. And she wasn't a chef. This was just a labor of love, really. Right. And so I learned, that from her. You know, so I spent a lot of time with my mama. Right. I mean, no disrespect to our pops, but it was always being mom, and so um I luckily got, my dad's physical stature, right? He's like a 6'6", 260, 50 guy, right? And then
okay.
my mom is like 5'4", you know what I'm saying, 105, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, right? But that's what's on the, you know what I mean? But so that's what's on the inside, and daddy built the outside. And so I feel like I got lucky in the fact that, they were leaders in the house. They
Mm,
were leader outside the house. And I got to experience a lot. Like they just, they were big into if we're over here in the state or in Germany in another country, you're going to see as much as possible here.
mm,
Right. Because they are obviously from the States and they've seen what Black youth really get to see normally.
yes.
And
Yes.
so to be over there, that close to that, they were submersive. It wasn't necessarily going and seeing, the museums and the artwork and that. It was meeting families and going into small towns and going shopping and
Yeah.
building relationships with people. So that was kind of my life. Is just, my mom would bring people home from work for Thanksgiving that I didn't know them. You know what I mean? She just worked with them and they weren't going anywhere. So she brought them
Uh-huh.
home to us. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was always open hearted. It was always open table. My friends can tell you that they still go, when they lived in Virginia, ex-girlfriends and friends while I'm in college or playing ball, they would still go see my parents. They go
That's
see
so
mom.
dope.
They would go sit with my mom. You know what I'm saying? They go
Yeah.
talk to her. And it was it was just a lot of that was just built off of her, her heart and kindness and faith.
No, that's outstanding. So there was no when you got here. First of all, let me ask before I ask you that question. You didn't
Sorry,
come here
Lord.
like Kobe speaking a bunch of different languages, did you? Can
No,
you
I
speak
mean,
German? Can you say
I could
anything?
I could understand it well when I first got here. I could definitely cuss you out. And I could count to 10 and then run. I could count to 10 and I'd be out. But that's
You know what I'm saying? That would have, hey, you would have really changed the game with that one, man. If you were playing in Darling Stadium or Todd or the playoffs, cursing people out in German, that would have been insane. They were like, yo, Macey Brooks, not only can he cook you, he gonna curse you out in German. Yeah, no, but speaking of that though, sounds like a blessing to have that. And I think, not to get all philosophical, but just being a family man myself and coming from a similar situation with my family, I think that's one thing I think was great about our time. And I think that's one thing I wish more people would take pride in, that family piece. Is I think you and I both and other people like us, men and women that are doing well, we had great families. Just hearing you talk about that. Now, with that being said, coming to the States, you in Hampton, the Peninsula, was there pressure or like, you got to get involved in something, so we're going to just take you to Langley? And like, was there a known entity about playing sports? Were you familiar with the Hampton Roads pageantry and history and tradition with sports? Not at all?
Not even close, bro. I mean, brother, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just played, right? Whatever was in season, that's basically what I attacked. I wasn't thinking about any other sport outside of what I was playing. And then my vision, honestly, was even smaller than that. It was, get to the practice and not embarrass yourself, right? And then watch the person in front of you in a line do the drill, and then just try to do the drill better than them, right? Yeah. So whatever praise the coach gave that person in front of me, I was trying to get that or better. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I wish I had there's a few things, but I didn't have a plan, right? I wasn't a kid who even dreamed about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's part of that is because I grew up, in those younger formidable years, right? In Germany, where I wasn't rooting for a local team. I wasn't rooting for the Redskins. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't connected like that. I also didn't have the pressures though of being a Black male in America. Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I didn't have that hanging over me. I didn't even know really what that was about until I got back to the States. You know what I'm saying? So, I am literally living a military, but yet isolated, but yet get to see a lot of the world, right? Knew a lot more about local politics than I knew what was going on in the States. My parents weren't talking about that, right? Because they probably knew that wasn't something that you even needed to touch right now. Because you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll get there when you get there. However, you get to just build yourself without that stress. And that's one thing that I see that I wish, I wish more could experience, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's where Kobe kind of came over. He got that, plus he had a pro in the house.
Yes.
I didn't have, my dad's not even in the house. He's working, you know what I'm saying? And mama's cheering me on like, go baby, go. But yet she ain't telling me, she ain't giving me that thing. She ain't telling me what to go work on, you know what I'm saying? But not that extra work was necessarily what I was about. It was really just about the competition, right? So, like I said, so it was about doing as well as the person in line, and then whatever the sport may be, whether it's paper football, if it's Tecmo Bowl.
Oh man,
it don't matter, right? It's spades. If we just it's fun, and I'm like this, hee hee ha ha, right? But inside, I'm like trying to terminate, right? I'm trying to win, right? Yeah. I am keeping the score. I am that guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And win or lose, the mentality was to win every time, like every single, and whatever it was, right? And so that's really the only thing that took me to the next level. I mean, I had some God-given stuff, but the focus was small. My focus was small. I wasn't thinking about next week. brother ain't had no game plan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
whoever's in front of me, I just have to beat that person. That's it. That's all I
No
can.
doubt. No doubt.
And that comes from also a very naive, immature, and lack of athletic IQ. Because I wasn't a fan. So now my boys will tell you, Tone, Rock, Mike, Sean Bunyan, like, I could talk athletics, right? You know what I mean? But I'm not watching it. I'm not rooting for a team. I'm not a fan. I'm not setting the clock to go watch the player. I'm not that. I wasn't that guy.
But that's kind of like, but that was refreshing. That's refreshing because I think when I've interviewed so many. I've been blessed to start this 4 years ago, and I've interviewed so many great female and male athletes and leaders in communities. And the thing about it is each one has that same thing you said. And it's not even a short-sighted, it's just tunnel vision, so to speak, about mindfulness, being in the moment. You were just in the moment, which I see now having so many kids I've coached in youth and high school sports and middle school sports, or even kids that are just trying to achieve their goals. They're trying to expedite the process. They're trying to look ahead too far and say, all right, bet. So by my junior year, I should have this and this. I'm like, nah, because like when I interviewed Macey Brown and other guys like that, they were like, man, we were just out there just hooping. I was just having fun and trying not to mess up and get yanked out the game. I wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, I got to get this offer from South Carolina. We weren't even talking like that.
Or I need to get these points that I'm looking for my stat. I'm worried about stat line. What? Nah.
Yeah. So Macey, you talked about the naiveness and you were just playing and, your mom cheering you on. So what middle school did you go to?
Sims.
So I know some schools during that time stopped youth middle school sports and then they brought them back. There was a time during that, because I'm a few years behind you, where everybody was playing for their school or a local rec league team nearby. So for example, the big league during that time when you and I were playing was Jeff Davis.
Yeah.
So everybody played their games. You had Aberdeen, you had North Phoebus, Fox Hill, Eaton Middle School. I played on with Chucky Moore and Jonathan Baker.
Yeah.
Brett Harper and Tyrone and those guys played on the team. Did you even Sims didn't have that? I don't remember.
We didn't have nothing. We didn't have nothing. We had nothing, bro.
I don't think I saw Sims or Spratley in that thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So at that time, what are you doing? Are you just going to school and just being a regular kid?
No, I played for Langley, and then when I got to 8th grade, I played JV baseball.
And that was
JV football.
And at Kecoughtan, you played baseball, football, and basketball, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. We're gonna get into that in a second because I remember you doing football and basketball, and I remember your baseball team was good too, which is crazy when you look back at the fact that era, guys not only played 2, but some played 3. You, Morocco played 3. Yeah. Sean Hammond at one time did track, football, and basketball. And one year he did baseball too.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Chuck was thinking about it. Chuck was thinking about a 3rd.
Really?
Yeah.
Chuck, I heard a lot of people, Chuck, you talking about your naiveness. Chuck was the opposite. Chuck thought if it was spades, checkers, it didn't matter. Chuck thought he was the best in the building.
You're right.
Chuck always said, it don't matter, cuz that's how he rolled. But on a serious note, man, let's talk about Kecoughtan because, I told you about Tyrone and Tynes, who we both know, and, he's our brother, and Tucker, Lloyd Tucker. A lot of us grew up playing against each other in youth leagues, and we went to the same parties. We all knew each other. We talked glowingly a lot about Kecoughtan. We always did. During that time, Kurt Newsom and Coach Mike Smith were very close friends. You're the only team I remember, we never blew out. I mean, it was a battle. Y'all would have us beat. Y'all gave a few games away.
For real.
Yeah. But
because they weren't throwing me the ball enough. But
But before we get into the Hampton and Friday Night Light match, before we get into that, you played for, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with the baseball coach, but in basketball and football, you played for 2 legendary coaches, and Coach Conrad and Coach Kurt Newsom. And I know they had legendary assistants as well.
Yeah.
But I joked to my son we just dropped him off at Fort Union earlier today, and I joked with him about the 90s was different because my favorite sports, basketball, I was at Hampton trying to find open runs. They were doing open gym, and Coach Danny Mitchell and Coach Mann saw me and said, "Where the hell are you going?" They grabbed me, put a physical in my hand, and said, "Get this sign," because they didn't know who I was because I didn't go to Lindsay. They were familiar more with the Lindsay guy. I went to Eaton.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm on varsity. I was green. I didn't play JV like some guys in the 8th grade. What was your connection to Kecoughtan? Did they come out and see you? Did they know about you?
Because I went to Sims,
go ahead.
and the people who went to Sims went to Kecoughtan.
So what was your first? And which came first? Football, right? Coach Newsom.
No, baseball.
Baseball was
I was playing JV in 8th grade.
So did you have? You were going there, and were you already 6'5", 6'6"?
No, I might have been 6'2". I might have been 6'2". I was long. Like you could see it coming, right?
Okay.
At that time, you could see it. Like
so you were already doing baseball. Well, let's start with that. How was that? Like, the baseball coach. I mean, I don't know much about the coachings during that time.
Well, okay, but speaking just back to the legendary coaches, Buddy Denton was the baseball coach.
Buddy did.
Another legend, like, you know what I mean? Peninsula legend, right? So, because he was a coach at Christopher Newport as well, I believe. Before him.
Yes.
So, so I got lucky in that respect. And I honestly just wish I was more mature to have soaked up that knowledge. But what did you ask me before? You just asked me something.
Well, you got there to baseball, and he knew about you, and then I want to kind of transition to Kurt Newsom and football. Then we'll get to the basketball.
How did they find out? I mean, I think just some of the players, because also, like, just because the organized sport was done did not mean you was done compete, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if somebody had the basketball goal, or you're playing, up at Gosnell tackle football, like you're still competing, right? If there's a gym open, you're still doing it. So I'm sure they knew about me, but once they saw me in the halls, and I was going out for the teams anyway, so it didn't matter. So they were gonna find me. But just once it was time to do stuff, then they were like, "Oh, that's Macey." Like they did, because no one really knew me, right? There was no game film. You know what I mean? Like, right? I didn't grow up, and I played a little bit of baseball, rec league baseball, right before high school. Up at Phillips or Phoebus? Phoebus.
Phoebus. It was Phoebus.
Yep.
It was Phoebus.
That's where I really met Morocco.
Yeah.
But other than that, bro, I didn't know the landscape. I didn't really know what I was entering into. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, but coming from Yorktown and Tab, those boys could play. You know what I'm saying? Just when we came to football, so I felt like, I can fit in somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. And I don't know. So Kecoughtan, they just kind of found me in the halls. They got lucky.
Which is interesting because you became, one of the all-time greats there. So like, there was no expectation. It's so interesting when I do these legacy spotlights because you can talk to some guys and say, it was my dream to play at Phoebus and I knew about this team, or because like for me, I remember it was like when the new Darling Stadium was like kind of like brand new. It was still new because they had just torn down the old one. And I went to a Hampton game. I was in 8th grade, and I went to see Hampton play Kecoughtan. And Cal Key from Hampton had transferred to Kecoughtan. And that game was packed. And I remember just seeing the green and white and looking at both sides and the chirping after each play. And I was like, yo, I want to be a part of that, because Kecoughtan had a lot of talent. I mean,
it was baby HBCU.
Listen, and on top of it, Kurt Newsom, and this is not saying this because I've said this on radio shows to David Taylor, the Daily Press. I've said this even when he was at Virginia Tech coaching. Kurt Newsom was a brilliant mind. To me, he was a brilliant football mind. I felt like with him, when we played, y'all was like looking in the mirror. and he had y'all right. But that was my impressions as an eighth grader.
Right,
What you know, because you were like, I'm gonna go out anyway. But did you know anything about Kurt Newsom and staff in the football program?
I mean, no, nope, no,
Nothing.
no. I mean, you know, I was going out for JV, and then walking in the locker room, and Kurt, he stopped me. He was like, "Look at you, look at this," and he like hold up my arm, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he touching me and stuff. He like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We gonna see you soon. So, you know, it was, you know what I mean? It was kind of that. You know what I mean?
So we had a similar experience.
No, because there was always college coaches in there. Like there was always somebody, right? That they were recruiting. And so he would he would have somebody in the office like, come and look at this. And then that's when the letters started happening. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. So
Tech was probably the first one of the first.
Wow, it's crazy. So, and you chose JMU. Oh, breaks my heart, but I understand. But hold on, I'm not choose, but you're at Kecoughtan, and from that moment, did you play varsity right away?
No,
varsity football.
So we talking about football, okay?
Yeah,
football. No, I played JV my 9th and 10th grade year. Yeah. And I played defensive end. I played defensive end on defense, or actually defensive end and outside linebacker. Defensive end for JV, but varsity, it ended up being outside linebacker. And then receiver. So the seniors and juniors that they already had were good. You know what I'm saying? Like Lawrence, I think, was playing defensive end at the time.
Lawrence Lewis.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. Lewis. So they were good. And honestly, I don't know. Physically, I was probably available for the job. Mentally, I don't believe I was there for the job. Because once again, I'm not a fan. Do you know what I'm saying? And so even sometimes the concept, the larger, broader picture concept of the game, I didn't think about it, didn't even know it was necessarily there.
Yeah.
Kurt Newsom had so once again, immature and low IQ when it comes to athletics. Just ability was high, and I could understand X's and O's very, very well, right? I could understand it at a high level, but just some of the nuance, it missed me, right? I didn't have that person sitting next to me and just talking about stuff, and I just didn't watch it myself. But what Kurt Newsom, the other part that helped me, and I've had to try to shed this part of me, but Kurt Newsom was such a great motivator. Like, and he really had you hating the Crabbers that day.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? Like, it didn't matter if you had friends. It just didn't matter. And so Kurt would have you ready to wreck the locker room, you know, run out there on the field and start the game before kickoff. You know what I'm saying? So that was the other piece that I carried. You know, I wanted to beat you, but I also didn't like you. And that was not mature, but it kept the edge that, you know what I mean, and this is me as an adult now looking back. I'm like,
so you had an edge. You and I had a run in my sophomore year. You had an edge. Yeah, when you told the rep I was holding you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, when people hold, stop. I mean, but honestly, that's probably my IQ of not know how to get off a block or knowing the concept of gap. Like, some of my coaching wasn't even there because the athletic side they didn't have to coach me as much because I was a good athlete. So they could coach all the other people who really need to be coaching. And sometimes that was to my detriment.
Yeah. You know, you're right. You're right. No, I understand that. And the one thing I want to give you credit for, even though, again, you credit to low athletic IQ and naiveness, I think it's still refreshing because there was no entitlement with you, that the fact that you knew you were starting to come into your own, entering high school. You had the physical attributes that you were going to grow into your body, and yet you were okay with waiting because there were guys ahead of you. Where now I spend a lot of time trying to help guys understand that it's a process. It's all going to, if you put the work in and pay your dues and just be patient, it's going to happen. So crazy how, as good as you were at Kecoughtan in multiple sports, you waited your turn in football. Now, with that being said, let's talk about it. You talk about how Kurt Newsom was a great motivator and he had y'all hating us for that night, that Friday night or Saturday afternoon, which we knew. We strapped it up extra tight when we played y'all. I mean, to me, I can go on and on about all the guys you guys had. Mike Williams, Lawrence Lewis, yourself. Oh my God, Tony, the linemen. You guys were just as big as we were.
The Bryce brothers.
The Bryce, oh my God, yes.
Brothers.
Shout out to the Bryce brothers.
Yes.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. So let's talk about it. Y'all ran that crazy option where Tony would just be like, it looked like he was not moving badly, spinning, 5, pitching it, boom, 4 yards here, first down. Then he did that little and throw it. And I was like, bro.
He said the
You know what I'm saying? So how was it, man? Just, I know you said I got to help you a little bit. We're reflecting because we're older now. But at the same time, man, you guys won a lot of games. You were right there at the top of the district with us. And the district back then, by the way, just to remind people watching this when I run this, the Peninsula District back then, this was during AAA, AA, single A. If you went 8-2, you could miss the playoffs. 7-3, you weren't going unless you were in Division 5 or lower. But most of us were in 6 and 5. So Bethel, Kecoughtan, Warwick was good with Antonio Banks and William Yarborough and those guys. You had Ferguson with Aaron Brooks and Antoine Smith, Alonzo Darden, and all those guys, Eric Jones. All receivers were 6'4" or taller. Yes, it's crazy. You also had Denby, which was physical. They were real physical. All their games feel like they was at Todd Stadium at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, why the light bulbs ain't working right when we played Denby? You know what I mean? Yep. So the district was tough. But when you reflect on your time at Kecoughtan playing football, playing for a legendary coach, a Hall of Fame coach in my book, and also great teammates, how were practices? How were games? How was it playing with all those guys? You mentioned the Bryce brother. Just what do you remember, man? Like, we remember our losses and shortcomings as athletes, but you did have some great times. What are some of your fond memories playing with your brothers back then?
Honestly, I would say Morocco Brown I was the closest with, right? In the linebacker group. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I played receiver, it was a lot of time spent with him banging heads and reflecting. And honestly, a lot of my athletic IQ came from the Browns. You know what I'm saying? Family. All the Browns, top to bottom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Milan, everybody. Yep.
Absolutely. And so when they talked, I would just listen. You know what I'm saying? Those weren't people that I would necessarily want to talk a lot because I wanted to hear what they had to say. I mean, they had a library of film. They knew every athlete that had been on this peninsula, you know what I'm saying, since 1902. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they just, in the understanding of athletics, right? So, some of that was just, osmosis. I just want to be around them. But, a lot of times I felt like I was always learning, even when I was a senior. So there was just never a time where I felt tremendously comfortable, right? And when I say comfortable, I was comfortable physically, like go do this, do the play, be with the boy, like that was great. I would say the best times we had, because since we were split up so much on practices, like after games on the bus, like that was on the game. That was when everybody was together and like, you know what I'm saying, had the energy together. And so, those were fun times. But for me, I just was such a cerebral guy that I probably didn't get to enjoy as much as I could have. Because I thought about a lot and I don't know. I just thought about it differently.
Well, tell me this and tell everybody, I do. And I get it, man, because what people don't realize is Same thing with me. I could tell you about games we lost or a game where, man, we win this, we would have won on one. But I remember the road trips or on the bus or like, funny thing is we beat Ferguson my sophomore year one time, and it was unfair to them. They played us, at Darling, and it was a 2:00 kickoff. They had Aaron Brooks, all those guys I mentioned, Galvino Green and all that. We ended up beating them, and they didn't want to play no more after that. And I mean, they didn't want to play after the first 2 quarters. Right. I remember we went in the locker room. We were getting, as the kids said, we were getting turned up, and we were in there taking the water bottles and doing all that. And Coach Smith came in and said, hey, the hell are you doing? Y'all not that good? And then he just humbled us that quick, but we laughed about it. Like, it's the brotherhood. So, but I do got to ask you this because it's your legacy spotlight, even though you were always learning and you walk in humility. And I played against you and I watched you hoop as well. We're going to get basketball here in a second. But there was an edge to you. And it was also some great games you had, or games, maybe it was a team game. Is there a game you remember? A game where you're like, yo, we were all gelling. Maybe it was against Gloucester. Was it against Lafayette? Was it against Bethel? And the Bethel games y'all always had, I always thought Kecoughtan Bethel, especially when Chuck was there.
Man.
They, to me, were the weirdest games because y'all would just, this person make a play. Then Chuck would make a play. Then Michael Jackson would hit a play. And then Morocco would get a fumble and hit some. The Bethel Kecoughtan game, Hampton and Kecoughtan get a lot of attention. But the Bethel Kecoughtan, for those, you go back and check on YouTube. They got them. Am I right? Do you remember those games?
So if there was any game that I could speak of, it would be a game against Bethel, where it was just like that, like score a touchdown, Chuck score a touchdown, Morocco get a fumble, they stop us. Chuck and then Chuck was rolling. And he, sometimes, if he's rolling, you don't know if he's going to run or if he's going to throw. You know what
I know what play you're talking about. That rollout bootleg he used to do.
Yeah, that bootleg. So he went booted.
Hold on, Macey. For everybody wondering, if you don't know this, Chuck, a.k.a. Allen Iverson, we do have people outside of VA that don't watch this. Yes, sir. Allen Iverson, Bubba Chuck.
Yeah.
He rolled out.
Yeah, he rolling out. And then he decided not to run. He tried to throw it behind me. And I caught it one-handed. And I caught the ball. So I intercepted the ball. And dog, remember, Kurt Newsom got us not liking folks, right? So I ran right at Chuck. I wasn't trying to score a touchdown. I just, you know what I mean? Like it was just, you know what I mean? It was mano-a-mano. So now I'm trying to run through you. So it doesn't matter what happened after that, but yeah.
I really.
It's the competitive side.
It's very competitive. I get chill. I got a hoodie on, but I'm telling you right now, I remember that. I saw that play as well. The crazy thing about it is I just feel like, people have kind of hit me in the comments sometimes on Facebook. Hey, yo, Big Vic, why you always say that was the golden era? And I say the golden era for Peninsula District sports was from 85, 86 to the early 2000s because there's talent there now, but there's more distractions, more to do. Games were 6, 7, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 deep people, fans. It was must-see TV. You had the games on Channel 5, Channel 29, now Channel 48. And there were so many household names. And I just felt like both cities of Hampton and Newport News were electric. You can go down each team and we could spend all night trying to name drop. Just to put a bow on that, man, is there a time when you look back, a game because this is my game for Kecoughtan. I was a freshman. You were already, you're ahead of me by a few years. I really felt like, so we played y'all in a rematch in the AAA, I want to say it was D6 regional final. We played y'all early in the year and we won. It was kind of like, I think 17-7. The games with y'all was always like 17-14.
Yeah, it was always grinding. Yeah.
It was always grinding, but we played y'all again and we won the game, I think 17-10. It's the game Sean Hamlet picked off Tony and ran it all the way back. They called it and negated it, but we got the game. We held y'all off. Y'all were driving to tie it, I believe, but to me, that's the game Kecoughtan. If y'all win that, I think y'all go on to play for states just like we did that year against Garfield. Do you share the same sentiments that a ball here, a bounce here? Do you feel like you guys were that kind of program as well? as far as on that level, if y'all had beaten us.
This is where you're gonna lose me.
Okay. All right.
Bro, you know what I'm saying? You know, unfortunately, I didn't have that. I had a short memory. So I didn't dwell on what coulda, shoulda, what. I had another season actually to go to.
You did.
You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't like, remember me. I just wanted the competition. So I was a competition like addict. Now I think about it, right? So that's all I really wanted was the competition. So now that this is over, there's no, you know what I mean? I'm not really looking back and seeing what went wrong and what could have been, right? I'm just now moving forward. Now I might be pissed about something that happened in my immaturity. Like, I'm like, okay, well, hey, I play wide receiver, so you know good and well if there was a game that we lost and I didn't get the ball a lot, that's probably the reason why we lost.
I love it. But well, you know,
I'm just, you know what I mean?
No. Listen, don't get it twisted, because you guys also were in that era right around the time where high school coaches had y'all getting down. I'm on, the laptop. Y'all were getting down in the 3-point stance, and because I mean, I look
I'm
at
still
all the
throwing
talent.
flippers and stuff.
Yeah, well, we were too. We had the form.
Yeah,
and I'm
like,
like,
got to win the forearm pass.
I always felt like God bless him, and I'm not about to undermine my homie Coach Newsom because I respect him immensely. I always felt like y'all leaned on that option a bit much because y'all had some dogs at receiver and tight end. Matt Patterson, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, but it is what it is. I'm with you. It is what it is. Those are great memories, good and bad. I mean, and when I say bad, no loss is good, but if you play your heart out and you ball, it is what it is.
There's no missed opportunities or
no. Yeah. Well, speaking of another season, let's transition to basketball because y'all had some squads. Look, football, y'all were really good, but basketball, Coach Conrad. First of all, let's talk about it. Listen, Macey, you played. Listen, y'all were long in the district, pause as they say, but y'all were tall. Y'all, I mean, I remember, you see me on Facebook. I cut those videos up. I put them on TikTok and all of that. I mean, Conrad, to me, he had that white dress shirt with the short tie and short sleeve. He had a shirt tucked in with the belly out. But he was moving up and down that court. And now same thing in football. The district was loaded. We're talking about y'all, Hampton, that featured Jermaine Golson and Sean Hamlet, David Blizzard, the battles with y'all, and then you had Warwick, who Newport News Hoops was always like that.
Always
Ferguson and Aaron Brooks. I mean, we can go on and on. The Peninsula was strong. Phoebus, come on. CL Noble, you know what I'm saying? Hold it down for the light-skinned brothers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, listen. 2 tall ones. There are two tall. Yeah. Listen, I remember it. But I remember it's your legacy spotlight. We talking Kecoughtan hoops. Coach Conrad has a great coach. And you guys, I watched because I was on JV back then. And I watched y'all, and Conrad to me got the most out of y'all. And you played with some great guys. Morocco, a multi-sport standout, star athlete. His younger brother, Milan, his older brother, was a great player. Went on coaching college basketball right now. Abraham's like you. Him, Taj, Ramadan, all move over here from the islands. Coach Conrad and them struck gold. I used to try to get Nasilio because he's a year younger than me to play football. He was like, nah, man, I'm not doing it. So Faisal, then Rashawn Ely, who also
we got the first Tim Duncan.
Yeah, so let's talk basketball, man. I name dropped everybody, just Spider. There's a lot of people, Chris Taylor. So what do you remember about Kecoughtan hoops, man? Kecoughtan
that was fun time. So honestly, basketball was probably my worst sport, but it was my favorite sport. You know what I'm saying? Basketball was a lot of fun. And I wish I had more work at that particular sport. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like anything that, you know how it is, right? when God gives it to you, you sometimes feel like anything that you put your mind to, which my mama said you could succeed at. So anyway,
True story, true
but
story.
but yeah, basketball. It since it was closer and all the, I mean, like you say, the golden era. I mean, you talk about the chants and the crowds. I mean, standing room only. I mean, you selling out high school games, you know what I'm saying, on a Wednesday. It don't even matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter to anybody's standings, but it's Kecoughtan Bethel, or it's Kecoughtan Phoebus, or it's Phoebus Hampton. You know what I'm saying? Like, them games are gonna be live, you know. So I basketball was probably my funnest season out of all of them, honestly. You know, Revis was just a good coach, you know, and between him and Mr. Brown, because he would come and consult a little bit with us.
Yes.
That's what really kind of took us to that next level, honestly. You know, is them putting their minds together, and you know, we set up a new defense. I mean, I remember them trying to ensure that we maximize the season because the team was strapped.
Yes. Yeah. You know, when I posted that video, it was highlights of Bethel Kecoughtan. Y'all weren't that strong that year. Y'all just lost some of the people you named, but you were still there. And Chuck and Tony that was the year they won states. And they were just putting on the show. But then I had that clip of you, and boom, you banged it left hand. And then you kind of did a little walk. You look like Stackhouse when he dunked on Duke, when he did a little walk right. And you went over to the bench, and people asked me about it because, you know, people started commenting in the thread about it, and you were just, you know, having fun with it, whatever, which that's the kind of guy you are. You're a good dude, man. But, you know, I will say this, and I'm glad you confirmed it. I didn't see you play baseball. I knew you did. I didn't know your stats, and I didn't pay attention. I played against you in football. I watched you on the field. But I definitely saw you hoop. And I always felt that you had the most fun in basketball. You projected that, you know, and you were on some great teams. And I always wondered how it was because I thought Conrad, God bless him, he did a great job of really making sure he did get the most out of y'all because those teams were very well coached and balanced. I mean, Tony Jordan playing point with the bow legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what's crazy? You know, I was at the game as a sophomore. The Peninsula District tournament was at Fort Eustis.
Yeah.
And Hampton, I did highlights on this. Hampton upset Bethel, beat them for the first time. It was their third time playing. And Hampton beat Bethel that year. And Tony and Chuck were really good that year. And Hampton beat them. And then there was a rematch with y'all. And Tony held the ball. It was tied, and he held the ball all the way to the end. He hit a jumper, and there was, you know, there's no shot clock, unfortunately, in the VHSL. But I remember looking at y'all thinking, man, like Kecoughtan is really low. I think y'all lost across the water that year, like we did to Booker T. I don't know anybody in the comments. Yeah. I don't want to get off.
At the
I don't
Fort
know if
Eustis
I'm right.
The Christmas tournament, we lost to Highland Park, Richmond. Yeah,
Highland Springs.
Oh, Highland Springs, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Highland Springs, yeah. But anyway, regardless of when you lost or what you won, the point I'm getting at is I thought Conrad, I just want to give him his flowers right now. I thought he did a great job of having a deep bench and everyone kind of took on a role. And you mentioned Rock's dad, Mr. Brown. I mean, him and guys like the Bako fathers and uncles were just legendary men. We talk a lot about Boo Williams, but I think those men are in the same breath as far as leaders. You know, Coach Conrad and other guys like Morocco's dad, just really great men. And I think we were blessed to know them because I feel like we were better, not just athletes, but better men because of them. Now, Macey, you know, you played football, basketball, and baseball. You were a great athlete. You talk about coming from humble beginnings and you were grounded with your mother and father coming to the States, and then all of a sudden you're in the daily press and you're all this, all that. You know, we're in an area where college coaches, even now, are going to go to the Tidewater area. You mentioned my alma mater, Tech, was one of the first to offer you and reach out to you. Surprisingly, who else reached out to you? That's the first part of the question. Who else reached out to you It's kind of a three-parter. Whether school reached out to you for football, why did you choose JMU? And then were there other coaches that recruited you for other sports? Because you have the skill set to play all three. And I've done these legacy spotlights where they're like, Vic, this school actually offered me to play football. And I'm like, what? Yeah. So did you have other offers in other sports? What other schools were interested in you? And how'd you end up choosing JMU, James Madison?
So I didn't, okay. The other sports. So I didn't really have any offers in basketball. And then baseball, I had I was not on anybody's radar my junior year, but then I got drafted my senior year out of high school in baseball. So I didn't get a scholarship, but I got a job offer, so to speak. Okay. Now football, Tech, Tennessee, JMU, Purdue, Oklahoma State.
Florida State?
Oklahoma State.
Not Florida. Still, Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Wow. Oklahoma State. A lot of schools. I don't know. So once again, I'm not a fan. So I'm not really impressed, right? And so I'm in the middle of sports. So the whole recruiting process for me was a little bit of a inconvenience. One,
yeah, I can see that.
Right, and then the other side of it is, honestly, I just once again, I also had this internal. Okay, that's a therapy session, but no, internally, you remember the '80s, and you remember the word jock, and then how it was portrayed. You know what I'm saying?
Stupid.
You know what I'm saying, right? And then we've got the late '80s, early '90s, where it's Dwayne Wade. It's a different world. It's what I'm saying. So I'm fighting jock all the time, right?
Yep.
Right. I'm fighting that, being a jock, right? But yet, in our area, there's higher level. There's all levels. We get to see all levels succeed, or I should say, let me say this better. We get to see people of color succeed everywhere on the peninsula, whether it's in the shipyard or whether it's in the education system. Whether it's on the military base or whether they're a police officer or whether they're a teacher, it doesn't matter. They're succeeding, and that's what I got to see. Right, I got to see Mr. Washington as a superintendent. I got Mrs. Washington as a principal. So to me, that's what I was like. This is beautiful. Like, this is what everybody, right, should be striving for. We got HBCU, we got Hampton University right here. Like,
Norfolk
we got
State.
everything, right, to want to elevate, at least in your vision, right, to elevate. So that was kind of my thing. So basically, I picked the school that was the hardest to get into that wanted me, and was close enough for my mother to get to me.
Great point.
That was it.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And JMU was it was a great education institution. And the athlete, and we had Eric Williams went there. So there was some familiarity, right? And then
John Stein, right?
Yeah. And Tony went there right before
Tony Jordan.
Yeah, Tony Jordan went there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and I looked up to Tony. Tony used to take me to school every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always looked up to Tony, like, even to this day. You know what I'm saying? And he went to JMU, and I'm like, and I got into JMU? Shit. I mean, how did I get in? But okay, let's go. See what I'm saying?
And look, and you know what? Thank you, even though I'm a Virginia Tech grad, thank you for talking about two important things that I'll never get tired of hearing or talking about. The fact that the Tarboro area is known for sports, but we had a lot of, and still have a lot of people there who are in positions of leadership, who have high quality, high character, principals, superintendents, judges, who hold it down.
The governor, right?
We forget, Missy and Pharrell and Iverson, and God bless all those people. They're iconic and they're heroes to many people. But we grew up in the era, and even there now, where we saw that. And I also want to thank you, I'm a tech grad, as I mentioned just a second ago, because JMU is a high quality school. I think back then it was 1AA. Now it's Division I. Yeah. But because of you and Tony and John Stein and Eric and other people, I remember when I was doing my top list, JMU was in my top. Like, I don't remember having the top 8 with it, but I was like really feeling it. And I'm going to tell you why. Proximity and the fact that you guys were there and you were doing well. I'm glad you said that, because you said the hardest to get into. Because at that time, even though I ended up going to Tech started their run right before I got there, because Lawrence Lewis was there, Antonio Banks. But the years before that, they were not good at all. They were horrible. JMU was actually in a better situation. They were just down a level. Yep. But it's a great school, and I'm glad you showed love to alma mater, letting people know that about the academic piece, because that's what it's all about. We can get caught up in projections and NFL rounds and all of that, but you see people looking behind me. This is what I'm most proud of. These things right here. Yeah. You feel me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, you must have done well at JMU, because you end up going and being with the Dallas Cowboys. Did you get to JMU and play receiver?
Yeah.
Or did you? Did they throw you the ball more? Was it a better situation? Not like, obviously it's all better. We're in the higher level.
Yeah. Once again, I am the kid who's just like going out for the team every year. I'm just going out for the team. And I'm like, Mama, you think I'm going to make it? You know what I'm saying? Like every year, every year. So, so the novelty of a new year or a new season wasn't lost on me. It was just, you know what I mean? And so I lost my train of thought.
No, you were just talking about your time and playing receiver at JMU, and how was it?
Oh, yeah.
About, did they throw you the ball more?
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, that's where I was going. They did. And so like normally freshman year, you get redshirted and stuff. And I actually got pulled out in the, like, I'm expected the red shirt. And then I started playing like maybe my fourth game, my rookie year or my freshman year. And so, they ran the option. So it was similar to what we ran in high school. So I was kind of comfortable. But then, the weight room came, right? And I got serious about playing the position and learning the position. And then I think that's when things started to change. Athletically, it was always there, but then trying to finally get some IQ and then understand the bigger picture of it, that's when things started really to click. And I was playing baseball in college as well.
I forgot about that. You did. Why, you love you some baseball, man. What position you play in baseball? What positions did you play?
Outfield.
Outfield.
I'm left-handed. Yeah, outfield first base. But
okay, got you. All right. No options as far as that pro aspirations.
Well, I got drafted in the second round out of high school by the San Francisco Giants, and then my junior year of college, I got drafted by Kansas City Royals in like late rounds, 30-something round. So baseball was always an option. Even after I got, in Dallas, a little weird story, but it's after my first year at Dallas, and I know the the University of Dallas baseball coach. He asked me to go and hit some BP. So I hit some baseballs, right? And he's like, okay, nice. So then he actually brings a Yankee scout. I want you to hit for the Yankee scout. I hit for the Yankee scout. The Yankee scout makes a phone call in the middle of the in the middle of this BP session, gets off the phone and then offers me to go down spring training.
Wow.
So since I'm not a fan, I'm trying to make, it's another football season. I'm just trying to make the count. You know what I mean? Like, I should have, so those opportunities that came along, that's where my IQ limited probably but that path wasn't for me, right? So the path was something else.
And did you, what year did you get, you got drafted by the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what round?
4th round.
That's what I thought. 4th round. And what year was that? That was
97.
97. I was going to say 96. 97. So
not to go to baseball to come back to football, but yeah.
I mean, well, a lot of them do that. But I mean, let's talk. I mean, again, we're about to wrap up your legacy spotlight, but just for a second, or a few minutes, I should say, you keep talking about, I'm not a fan. I'm just doing this just to make it. I tell you what, Macey, that works for you. And a lot of people need to take that approach, because you being in the moment and just being locked in paid huge dividends. I'm not talking about financial or, popularity or, everybody knowing your name. The fact that, because I remember when you got drafted, I was at Tech. And I remember I saw your name because that was the same year some of my guys at Tech, Torian Gray, who's now, coaching at South Carolina DBs, and Antonio Banks, who's coaching. They went that year. I think my other guy, my friend, my teammate, Todd Washington, he got drafted that year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I remember I saw your name. And I remember being really hyped. I was very happy for you.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not being dead serious. I told him, I remember like, yo, that's my guy, Macey. Kecoughtan, he's go against him, and I kept it. I followed your career. I wish for this reason we had social media back then, because I do it now where I show love to people like yourself and try to follow people that I admire and respect. So your mindset of being locked in is something that really blessed you and benefited you, because you say you missed out on an opportunity, but you had one that you did miss out on, and it worked out for you. I mean, it wasn't like you regret it because you were competitive, but I know I'm rambling because I just think it's very impressive. And plus, you can know someone and not know their story, which I'm sure when people watch this, it was like, yo, this dude Macey was drafted in 2 professional sports twice with baseball. I mean, and you know what? God bless you, because you're so humble, man. Nowadays, everybody tell you what they have for lunch, how many girls DM'd them, and how many pair of Jordans. I mean, everybody's telling you how great they are Monday through Sunday. And you're like, yeah, I just went to the league. And you were with the Cowboys when it was the 90s Cowboy, which, by the way, let me say this on Macey's Legacy Spotlight. If they're going to do a 30 for 30 or a documentary, forget the Florida Gators that they just did, because they undersold that one. Do the 90s Cowboys. Because you were in that locker room, Macey. You were there. You talking about the mansion, the personalities. Listen. Okay, hold on, because the people want to know, including Dwight.
There's nothing better.
I know you can't tell us stuff because, regards to statute of limitations or just putting people's out there. How was Dallas? Because you were there with my homie TJ Washington, weren't you?
Yeah.
TJ Washington that played at Tech with me. Y'all were both there. He was a free agent offensive lineman, played over in NFL Europe too. He used to come back to Tech when he was like, Big Vic, it's crazy. You don't need to tell, again. I mean,
shout out to Charles Haley, because he went to JMU.
Yes, he did.
And I caught him in Dallas. I was in Dallas with him. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of the funnest times of my life.
Okay.
They coming off the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? Like, remember, I'm not a fan, but I do know the names. Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know the names and I know how big it is. So now I am in that locker room. You know what I mean? It was, I was bringing my friends from college. I was bringing anybody. I got my boy, one of my roommates, Marcus Ordonez. I got him a job. He ended up being a strength coach, assistant. He got a internship with the Cowboys.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Man, it was It was fun. Like it was the personalities were as big as you would think.
Yeah.
But they were as down to earth as you would not understand, right? Like they were all really human. You know what I'm saying? There was a few of them that you know
had inflated egos. I thought they were better than everybody else.
You know, yeah, there's just yes.
Yeah.
That's I'll let you. Yeah, I'll leave it.
Well, I know what you mean, because you were drafted. I signed as a free agent with the Ravens. Ironically, I got there when Brian Billick had just been named head coach. Ron Tribroda was let go, and he brought his guys in from Minnesota where he was OC. And I joke because I got waived after minicamp, and then of course subsequently they went on to win the chip. And I remember being in the locker room, and I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna lie. I've been around people like you, but I'm like, yo, that's Saragusa, that's Rod Woodson, that's Ray Lewis. My teammate and big brother was on the team, Cornell Brown. There's Peter Boulware.
Cornell.
Jamal Charles. I was like, yo, and they had personalities. It's funny because, like Dallas, when you were there, TJ told me, but Charles Haley, I had heard about him, but he said the same thing, man. He said those guys were really real. They were cool. He told me some stories. I don't want to misquote, but he did tell me there was one line. I don't know if it was Larry Allen, because Larry Allen was, to me, he was my idol. I was a lineman, but he said there was one lineman. It might have been Eric Allen or one of them, or Nate Newton came and y'all had the conditioning test. If you didn't pass it, you got fined. And TJ said, hey, the white dude came and said, how much is it if I don't make the test? And pulled out a knot of money and was like, here, take it, and walked off. I said, yo, like, what they gonna do about it? I know when I was in Baltimore, bro.
That sounded like Nate Newton. That sounded like
it sounded like that. It sounded like, but again, shout out to Nate. Nate, you a legend to me too. But I remember when I was in the Ravens and Jonathan Ogden in college, the young guys sit in the front of the film room, the depth chart, first, second. In the NFL, you know this, the vets sit in the back because they like, yo, we know, geez, y'all need. I'm trying to get out the way. I sat in Jonathan Ogden's seat. And I'm 6'4", 6'5". He taller than me.
Man.
He came in and said, hey, Rook, you better raise on up. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's quite a few of those moments, but
yeah.
There's a lot of moments, you know what I mean? Like, man, you know what I'm saying? And, you had they're people. So you got those moments in the locker room, on the field, in the hallway, out at breaking bread. Like, there's just, so I tell people all the time that the NFL is just it's a microcosm of the real world. It's got everything in that same swath of people, right? It's got fantastic people and it's got some bums in there. But yeah,
I think that's
you know what I mean? But everybody, for the most part, has worked so hard that they generally they're really good people. You know what I'm saying? They really are. And so Dallas was a great time. JC Garrett.
You met Jerry Jones?
Oh yeah, Jerry Jones and the whole family.
Yeah, he's a funny dude to me, man. So this is, you know what? I just thought about this. Did they, because you have that physique as far as athleticism and being a receiver, did they bring you in mind? Because I know Dallas historically, since Jerry Jones owned the team, they always like receivers like yourself. They like those big Michael Irvin.
Yeah, so
they don't really go for speedsters. They was that their goal in drafting?
At that time, big receivers were definitely in, right? You got J.J. Stokes. You know what I'm saying? Terrell Owens was drafted that same year. So yeah, not unlike now, but there's just not as many of them. You know what I mean? There's just not as many, big boys playing, and a lot of times they put weight on them and they turn them into a tight end. And a lot of schools wanted me to also kind of play that H-back, that tight end position. I wasn't having it.
No doubt, man. Mace, no, for real, man. I'm glad you stuck to your laurels. I'm glad you stuck to what you knew you would do and benefit from as an athlete.
It's a long way from offensive guard, brother.
Well,
I was dope at offensive guard, left offensive guard.
But again, for the sake of time, we got to kind of wrap this up. But I do want to ask you, one last question before we sign off. Let everybody know what you got going on now, because you stay busy, you're on the move. I mean, we reflected a lot, you know what I'm saying? But like, what do you got going on now? Like, you know, as far as your career, family, you know, let everybody know what you got going on right now. Cause you kind of, you on social media, you pop up every now and then you just kind of pop out. You know, you'll post something and then you'll dip out. So what do you got going on, man? What's going on?
I'm glad you said that, because I'm working on being more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I own a coffee shop.
Nice.
I'm a part of Prima Coffee Roasters out here in Illinois. I kind of have an entertainment company. In that entertainment company, we put on music festival. We're working on food truck park. You know, under that entertainment umbrella, I have a pickleball company. Yeah, so we're deep in apparel. I teach almost every single day pickleball, like private classes, big classes. Um, I and I also work for the senior center, and that's big. My you know, what I consider is my service portion, because I mean,
Nice.
it's a community that you know, I went to school for, you know, hospital administration, health administration, and gerontology and business.
And you got your degrees. Let everybody know that you got your
Yes,
degrees.
yeah,
You got
yeah.
what? You got 2 degrees, right?
A degree and a minors, 2 minors.
Okay, yeah, 2 minors, 2 minors. I knew. Okay, yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and so for me, that senior population is truly important. They got all of us where we are, and we will be there one day as well. So I've committed kind of part of my career to just better senior housing, better health lifestyles, all the things. So I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot,
No,
and I
you
have 4
are, man.
daughters. And I have 4 daughters.
What? I
From
thought it was 2.
from 7 to 17. Yeah.
We might have to have a part 2 on the girl dad thing, because
You know what I mean?
I have 2 daughters and 1 son. But I love my daughters. I love my children.
Yeah.
But yeah, daughters, man, 4. God
4.
bless you. And all
Yeah.
these businesses.
Yeah.
No wonder you pop in and you pop out. You ain't got time to go back and forth with people over who's the GOAT and who's the best team.
I gotta go braid hair. So
yeah. You know what, Macey? This has been a blast, man. God bless you, and you are more than an athlete. I mean, all the things you're doing, you prove that point. I mean, career aside, athletically, man, I mean, look what you're doing right now, and I think that's what, you know, those leaders we played for wanted for us. You know, I think that's what your dad, you know, exemplified. You're doing that. You're personifying the path and the success and the hard work he wanted you to do, along with your mother. So congrats and God bless you for that. And now you're one of those guys that we looked at when you and I were growing up in the 7-5 on the Peninsula, seeing guys like the Bacos and Mr. Brown, Coach Brown, I called him, and Conrad and Newsom. We're doing the same thing. So your daughters are seeing you every day, man. Pickleball, one of the most popular sports in the country, and a coffee shop. So I'm saying, man, you are so much more than a kid from Hampton, man. So thank you for jumping on real quick. I always let my guests sign off.
Thanks for having me, Dwight. Thanks for having me, Vicktory Life. I've been savoring this moment so I can make sure that I could speak to this well and be totally present for you, Dwight. I know I've been putting you off, so I thank you for being patient with me.
It's all good. It's all good.
But no, I appreciate you doing this for us. You know what I'm saying? The Peninsula, you know, kind of getting a little deeper down the rabbit hole of athletics in the Peninsula, some of the players and personalities in the area, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of some of their deeper meanings. So I really do appreciate you, Dwight.
No, God bless you and thank you for doing that, man, and saying those kind words, because that is the whole goal of Vicktory Life. If you look under Vicktory Life, it's leave a legacy. And you have left one, and that's what it's about. I use the sports to bridge the gap. And with that being said, Macey, I want you to share your final thoughts before we sign off on this episode. What do you want to tell all the young Macey Brooks out there in Virginia, Maryland, Seattle, Chicago, West Virginia? I don't care where they reside. The kids that think they only have one path of baseball, track, and football and basketball. but you have been living proof that entrepreneurship education can take you a lot farther. What do you want to tell them to stay on their path? That maybe they have doubt right now. Maybe they think, well, if it's basketball or nothing. What do you want to tell them so they can stay on their path when they see this clip or this reel I share? What do you want to tell them? Women too, young ladies as well. What do you want to tell them?
Kind of just my overall theme for life, and I've also spoken on this to other groups, but I liken it to a chip. You know what I'm saying? Like, every day you should be striving to get better. Right? So this is part of my mantra. Every day I have to get better. Not just do the things on my list. It's not about just doing the to-do stuff. I mean, spiritually, physically, professionally, and with my family. Every day I'm trying to get a chip. And when I say a chip of I just want to be able to check it off that I got better today, every single day. So now when I say this chip, that chip could be, this small, right? Or it could be this big, or it could be this big. It's honestly, for me, it's just, if I can't look back at the end of my day and feel like that I've improved, right? And when I say that, I do mean spiritually. So diving in, right? Business-wise, finding something that's going to raise my level of thought or understanding about something that I'm not necessarily clear on. Being a better leader, being a better around the house. I'm kind of, I'm not obsessed with it, but I do know that I know if my getting better today is this small, if I stack those every day, then I get to look back and I know that there will be something behind me, and that's basically going to be some integrity. It's going to be I'm going to be smarter, because more than likely I've taken in some information that I didn't know beforehand. Spiritually, I'm going to be stronger and a bigger force in whatever I decide to do. So so what I'd like to say is, make sure you get your chip every single day. And if you are about to get in the bed and you haven't got your chip, then get on the ground and do some push-ups, go pick up a book and read something that you didn't read before. Find an area of weakness and then get better at it.
I love it. Well said. Thank you, Macey Brooks, and thank you all of y'all for joining us today or this evening or tonight, wherever you're watching this episode of the Legacy Spotlight featuring entrepreneur, father, business owner, former athletic great, Peninsula District great, Kecoughtan great, Dallas Cowboy draftee, and JMU great, Macey Brooks. We appreciate you for joining us. This was insightful. This was fun to go back down memory lane. I appreciate your humility as well as your work ethic. You shared some gems, and I know we're all better for that. And to everybody watching, we appreciate you. Please continue to subscribe and share to the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight series and the Legacy Podcast to see more great interviews with great people, great men and women like Macey Brooks here. To all the people that are part of Vicktory Life movement, as owner and founder of Vicktory Life, Dwight Vick, I thank you. Like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact. You leave a great legacy. I'm Dwight Vick signing off on behalf of Macey Brooks. We thank you. You guys have a great day, great month, and great year. Appreciate you.